Hi guys! Welcome to episode 8 of the Dirty Knitting Hippie podcast. My name is Kristen and I am coming to you today from the San Francisco Bay Area where I live with my husband, our 2 boys, and our dog Guinness, the Wonder Lab. It is December and it's almost Christmas. So I hope the holiday season is treating you well, and I hope you're getting ready for Christmas or whichever holiday you celebrate, or just enjoying this beautiful time of year. It's my favorite time of year with the weather changing. So you can find me on Ravelry as Dirty Knitting Hippie. You can find me on, take 2. You can find me on Instagram as Dirty Knitting Hippie. And you can find me on Ravelry as Tyler's Mom, Chris. And there is a Ravelry group, Dirty Knitting Hippie Podcast. That's the one I was trying to think of. So if you are new, thank you for joining me. If you are returning, it's nice to see you again. So welcome. Let's see. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. So I have a lot of things today. I have 4 finished objects and just 1 work in progress. So it's been a little bit crazy here in terms of getting things off the needles. I wanted to... There's a reason I have 4, and it is not Christmas knitting. I didn't do 1 bit of Christmas knitting this year. This is all really selfish knitting. So I had a couple things languishing on the needles, and I wanted to start a sweater. But in order to start the sweater, I needed to get everything off the needles because I had 4 things sitting on the needles, and I thought, I'm not starting another thing that would take all of my energy until I got all my other stuff completed. So let's see. The first thing that came off of my needles was this hat. There are 3 knots on this sucker. I don't know. This is called Square Knot, and this is the picture on the pattern. I don't want to show anything. This pattern was written by Thaddeus Nelson, Archaeology Knits on Ravelry, and you may know him, or you may not. He is married to Suzanne of Groovy Hues Fibers, and so they did a collaboration. And so she hosted a knit-along featuring his pattern. Well, they both hosted this knit-along featuring his pattern, and you had a choice of knitting a square knot hat or a cowl. I don't remember the name of the cowl because I didn't choose it. And so there were bonus points issued if you used Suzanne Margaret Nelson's yarn. And I had a bit sitting here. And so I decided to use her yarn and his pattern. And so I chose this beautiful, this is like luscious yarn. It is, I totally jacked up her name. It's Suzanne M. Burkett. Sorry. And so the yarn that I chose was her Lavishly Groovin base, and it is a merino cashmere silk, a superwash yarn in the Cafe Creme colorway. It is amazing. Like, I just wanted to hold it and touch it, rub it on my face. This is it was a gorgeous hat. And the pattern was really, really well written. He only has a couple patterns out. Obviously, he is a knitter himself, but it was a fun knit. But the thing that really kind of sucked me in were his decreases. They were just beautifully written, and it was just so much fun. I actually, it's fingering weight. We had all of November to knit this hat, and I cranked this out. I started at like late on a Sunday, and I finished on Thursday, and that included ripping out a bit, because I knit it, and I can't remember what I did to it, but it needed to be ripped out. I don't know if I twisted it. I don't know what I did. Oh, I know what it was. So I was using Haya sharp needles, a 4-inch shaft needle, and it was really, really, cashmere silk is super slick. I mean, merino on its own I can knit on a metal needle, no problem. But the cashmere and the silk made it really, really slick. And I was fighting with my needles. And so I ended up having some funky gauge. I remember that. So I ended up ordering a pair of Lykke. I don't know how to pronounce it. Needles. They're driftwood needles, and I had not used them before. I was interested in trying them, so I ordered 2 pair. One to knit this hat with, and one in a size that I use often, just to try in another project. And I fell in love with them. They had super sharp points. This was a size 3 needle. Super sharp points. I don't like wooden needles generally. They have their place, but I'm not a fan. But this yarn required it. So having said that, I bought the needle. Like I said, super sharp point, super smooth. And it had it was a 16-inch needle. I didn't think I would like the cord or the cable because it's pretty stiff. But I have to say, I love the needle. And a really smooth join, which is my criteria. So it kind of actually met all my criteria for a needle that I like. So it was a joy to knit this hat. I made size small because it's for me. It's still a little bit big. I think it's a 21-inch size, but I have a little pinhead. So I needed, probably should have knit a little bit smaller needle to make it a little tighter to fit my noggin, but I will absolutely wear it, and I love it. So yeah, it's done. Let's see. Well, you kind of saw these. So these socks are now done. These are a nice rib sock by Glenna C, and that's what they kind of turned out like. You're getting some funny colors. I used my standard 2-inch 2x2 cuff. No, I didn't do a 6-inch like. I did a 5-inch like on these. I did a regular heel flap, a slip stitch heel flap, and a star toe. On these, I used a 64-inch cast on, or 64 stitch cast on. 64 stitches. 2.25 millimeter needle, US size 1, and I ended up using my carbons. Yep, I did. I was using I tend to knit my socks on DPNs 2 at a time, top down, and concurrently. What I found was I had a new type of needle to try, which was the Knitter's Pride Royale. I broke one of them not too far into my sock. I contacted Jimmy Beans and they were amazing and sent me a needle to replace the broken one. They didn't even require that I sent the broken one back. I didn't like it. I don't like those needles. So I probably won't be using them again. They just are too grippy for my taste. I liked the join, but like I said, I'm not a wooden needle person, and they were too wooden for my taste. But I thought I'd try them because you never know. I mean, I never thought I'd like the Lykke needles, but I love those. So it was something to try. The other one I ended up knitting on Carbons. So I had one on Carbons, one on a Knitter's Pride. And I ended up partway through switching out the Knitter's Pride. I didn't like it. I mean, normally I would finish it, but it was just that apparent. It was I felt like I was working too hard. So, yeah, ditched it. Let's see. These were also hanging out on my needles. These are so much fun. This is Vanilla Latte socks by Victoria Rose Jeans, I believe. If I have that wrong, I apologize, but I will put it at the bottom. The yarn is white birch fiber arts in the does this rainbow make my black look big colorway. It is an 80 merino nylon stellina. You can see the sparkle all over these, so they're quite sparkly. I don't know the percentage of fiber content, so I'm not even going to say it because my brain is a little bit foggy, if you couldn't tell. But this pattern was really fun to knit. Let's see, 64 stitch cast on, top down, 2-inch cuff. These had a 6-inch leg. And a slip stitch heel and a star toe. I like to get my socks as matchy as possible, so I think I did a pretty good job. I did a contrasting heel and toe, and that was opal, just bright pink opal. I was hoping to have this was the first time I had added a contrasting heel with a flap, and it just wasn't quite going as well as I wanted, so I knit it, and then I ripped it out, and then I put this back in. I just needed to get my bearings. And what ended up happening was it kind of looped around the front. So redid it, and I'm happy with these. They're really squishy, and so I'm happy. And they're done. So I have 2 new pair of socks to kind of play with. I haven't worn these yet. I did wear these ones. Oh, I didn't tell you who the yarn was from. This is Softlink by Gale's Art. Jumping around. Join me on my adventure of jumping around. So this was a sock blank. This is what I have left. Not a lot. And it was a single pull. So I'll kind of put this aside, maybe throw it in my scrappy blanket. It's Cozy Memory Blanket, which I have not used in a while, or knit on for a while. I'm kind of got that on the back burner, and now I have a lot of minis to work with. I have an advent calendar. So I've been pulling those every day, and I'm ready to start adding those. And I have all the scraps from the socks I've been making to add. So yeah. Let's see. I also have my hat. It is, this is the Antler Toque from Tin Can Knits. It is blocked, but these ends are not woven in yet. I always weave my ends in at the very, very end after it's been blocked. This is a very toothy wool. This is like it's not a soft wool at all. It is from the Ross Farm, which is a heritage farm in Pennsylvania. It is Jacob wool, and it is a 3-ply worsted. The actual sheep that it came from is Liberty 2.0. That's the little guy that gave me my hat. It is minimally processed wool, which means that I had some really, really soft hands while I was knitting this hat because there was a lot of lanolin. And so every time I would pick this hat up, it felt a little bit cold. And then I would start knitting with it, and it would kind of warm up, and I could just feel the lanolin all over my hands. So they were really soft as I was working on it. That was a bonus. And it will be an extremely warm hat. So I'm excited to have a chance to wear this. It's been cold. Not quite cold enough for a super thick wool hat yet. But it is, well, today it was 65. That's not cold. But at night it's dipping down to the 30s. So we're having these big fluctuations, and the cold we get here just kind of cuts through you. It's a really strange cold. And people are always caught off guard when they come here. They always think California is sunny and warm. It is down south, but not up here in the Bay Area. It's cold and kind of dreary, and that cold just, you get cold, you can't warm up easily. So yeah, I am in love with my new hat. I haven't decided. I may put a pom-pom on top of this. I bought a couple like faux fur pom-poms. They were advertised as vegan, which just meant they didn't come from a bunny or an animal, but they're synthetic. So I may throw one on here. I haven't decided. So that is it for my finished objects. I was pretty proud of myself. All this came off the needles within a week. The hat, my toque, my antler toque was half done, and so I just pulled that off the needles pretty quickly. I had this hat. It was just a few days to knit. My socks, I had 1.5 socks knit in each pair, so I really just needed one of them. Was from the, like, pull out a heel flap and then knit the rest of it. The other was just past the heel flap. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a fun sense of accomplishment to just push them all off, block them in, like, 4 things in 1 week. That never happens. But it happened to me. So I have one work in progress, and I need to be super careful pulling this out of the bag because I'm binding off, actually. The reason I pushed all this stuff off the needles so quickly was I mentioned that I wanted to knit a sweater. Let's see, do I have everything out of here? Okay. The sweater I chose was the Stillwater by Olive Knits, designed by Maria Greene. That's the picture. Kind of see. It is a sweater that comes just to the side of the bust. 3/4 length sleeves. And it's in a worsted weight. So when Marie initially knit the sweater, I think she knit it in 4 days. To me, that's insane. No matter what size you're making, even if you're making the 32-inch size, I don't have that. I'm not that speedy. Excuse me. But, I mean, I'm a moderate knitter. So, that still seems really insane to me. Sophia from the Knitters League decided to knit hers within, I think she said 5 days. I thought, man, that lady's ambitious. But I'm kind of competitive, so I thought I could do this in a week. And I was thinking I could do it in a week because I have a flight and a few days sitting in a hotel. No problem. That flight, I knit a little bit, but there was so much turbulence on it, and it was only an hour and a half flight, so that's not a lot of knitting time. And I got there right before priority boarding, and I was like, so I didn't have time to sit and knit waiting while everybody boarded. And I cut it a little close getting to the airport. And then my knitting time in the hotel didn't happen because I was visiting family. So it was some business dealing with my mom's estate, and then the evenings were hanging out with my the rest of my family. So I didn't get home till late, and so I didn't knit very much while I was gone. So it was really several days of not knitting a lot. So I blew that timeline out of the water, which I was totally bummed. So I am binding off now. I would say total knitting time. Did I just lose that stitch? Sorry. I have one stitch on a needle and binding this thing off. So I ended up, I want to say total knitting time about 2 weeks. 2 weeks? Yeah, something like that. Which, you know, I'm binding off today. Let's see, how much have I bound off? I've bound off this much. I am being a little protective of this because I have one stitch that I just almost lost. I'm going to throw a really quick locking stitch marker in. Sorry, you get the top of my head. So I can show you. This was poop planning here. Because we were at my son's math tutor, and I just threw it in the bag and came home and started recording. Okay, I will not lose this stitch now. Yeah. So I need to block it, but let's see. Hello. So this is a 3/4 inch sleeve. It's on me. It's gonna come down to about here. It's got a really pretty faux cable on the side. It's not actually a cable needle that you use. It's just a series of yarn. I'm trying to get it so you can see. Yarn overs and decreases to create this really pretty cable panel. And it goes all the way down. There's a 2-inch ribbing around the outside and the bottom. Yeah. So I ended up using Blue Sky Fibers in the Woolstok. Let's see, what color is this? Deep Velvet, number 1314. I used a size 6 needle, for the body, and for the ribbing, a size 4. I ordered this yarn from Webs, and they only come in 50-gram skeins. So when I pulled them out of the box, immediately I was impressed with how bouncy this yarn felt. It was really springy. I have not had a yarn that I've worked with that was this springy and bouncy before. And so I was really excited to work with it, and I caked it all getting ready for my trip. And it has been a lot of fun to knit with. It's got quite a twist to it, a visible twist. And I want to say, I am not a professional spinner. I want to say it is a woolen spun yarn, which I don't think I have used anything like this, which means it's very boingy and springy and airy. So I've really enjoyed it. And like I said, I am binding off the ribbing, and then I've done, this is elegant, I've just bound off like this much. It's kind of a dark color to show, but I just need to kind of continue to bind off around the ribbing down to the end of this needle, and block it, because it's really, because of that faux cable on the outside and all the ribbing, it's kind of scooshed up, and it's causing the whole sweater to kind of constrict a little bit. I knit a size 32, so I'm excited to finish it and try it on and wear it. It's really thick, so I'm excited to have something toasty and warm. I have been frozen. I am not enjoying this weather change at the moment. My body is not adjusted yet, so I'm excited to pull that off. I used, I mentioned the size. I initially started with a signature needle, and I know I've said I love the signature needles. I did not enjoy that needle with this sweater. I love the point, the stiletto point on those needles. What was bothering me was there's a ridge at the tip, and if you've seen signatures, they have like a silver tip and then the colored shaft. There's a ridge around that tip, and it was like every time, you know, I was stitching, it was like rubbing, and it was like it was driving me nuts. I ended up switching to a needle that I said I did not initially love, and I may have fallen in love with them. But I used, let's see, I've already taken it out of, or lost, because I don't see it. Oh goodness. I was using my, well, that's exciting. I maybe did lose a needle at Starbucks today. I'll find it. I was using my Knit Pro Zings, so I liked those a lot. I am combining a tip today with knitting this sweater, and that is, I was struggling with pulling my needle through the ribbing, so I was just using this one needle going back and forth and back and forth. So what I ended up doing was grabbing another needle and using 2 sets of circulars instead of one, and it greatly freed up a little bit of slack. I was not pulling on that needle. My wrists were getting a little bit tired, and so it was really nice to have the 2 needles to work with. That's kind of a bit of a circumference to work with, and it was just like constant like pushing down the cable, pulling up the cable. It really eased things up to have that second needle, and I really it helped a lot. So I will be doing that on any larger circumference or curved knitting from now on. I am housing, or I was housing because I am almost done, this project. Okay, I'm perseverating over this lost needle, sorry. It's in my You Sew and Sew bag. This is her jumbo size, and it's a really good sweater size bag. Love her bag, so check her out. There's a nice pocket, actually 2 pockets, and nice deep and wide bag. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And like I said, I am almost done. I have, I don't know how much yarn I started with. I want to say the 32-inch size took 720 grams total, or 720 yards. I have 3 little balls like this left. So it's perfect. I ordered just enough. I usually order an extra skein, and I had a brain fart, and I did not. So I'm glad that I was able to completely finish this with enough yarn. I would have been devastated to end up with, like, you know, no yarn to bind off, or no ribbing or whatever. So it was perfect. That's it on my needles. I think I'm gonna, like, go through withdrawal once I finish this tonight. I don't have anything specifically planned. I need to knit a baby sweater for she was my niece at one time. She's no longer my niece through marriage. She is pregnant with baby number 2. I am the only one that knows what she is having, and I will not say it. I won't even utter the word to anybody, regardless of whether they know her or not. I was entrusted with this knowledge. She doesn't know what she's having. So it's just me, the sonographer, and the doctor that know what she's having. She had an ultrasound, and they sent her the pictures. And she didn't want to know what it was. They sent her 100 images. And I used to work in ultrasound, and we were, everybody was together, and she said, could you do me a huge favor? Could you look at these images? Tell me which numbers are the gender images, so I can save everything and delete those. So we kept passing her phone back and forth. Eventually she ended up with all the images minus the gender reveal shots, and they were quite clear to me. And so I am going to be making her a sweater, 2 sweaters, one with the gender, which I'm not saying, and that one actually is done and hidden away from everybody. And she will not get that until after baby is here, lest I spoil the surprise. The other one is a gender neutral sweater. I don't know what pattern yet, but I have some yarn to knit that with that I picked up. So yeah, so that's the only project planned. I am. That's the only project in earnest plan. The only one that I have to get done. She is 21 weeks. Yep, 21 weeks. And so I have a little bit of time, and it's a little tiny baby sweater that'll fly off the needles. I have some sport weight yarn to work with, so that shouldn't take long at all. I'm planning on doing that little one in a newborn size, because the gender specific one is not newborn, so that baby can wear it a little bit longer. So yeah. Let's see. I know you guys are interested to see who won the giveaway, I'm going to go through my acquisitions first, and then I will announce the giveaway winner. And the winner will be receiving this beautiful skein of yarn from Mitchell's Creations that Tara generously donated. So we'll do that in a minute. Let's see. I had my birthday's in July, and I was given I was given a lottery ticket, and I won $100. And so I hadn't used it. It was just sitting for a while because I didn't know what I wanted to get with it. And so for Black Friday, Handsome Fibers. They're in Oregon. They sell mostly needles. I can't remember the name. I'll put it on the bottom. They were having a 25% off sale on Black Friday. So I decided to use my birthday money to buy a set of needles. So it's a birthday present from July, purchased in November. But I bought the set of 5-inch tips in the driftwood. I'm kind of excited to dig into these. Like I said, I'm not a huge wooden needle person, but there are some fibers that absolutely require using a needle with a tiny bit of grab to them, and those typically like cashmere, silk has a tiny bit of grab, but some of those slippery fibers, because I use wooden needles, or I use metal needles, and I like really slick metal needles, don't do well on the needles I have. So I bought this set, and they're beautiful. They're a really, like I showed you, a really pretty driftwood. I'm gonna say this case stinks. It's not because of where I bought them. It was not their problem. I had to let it air out. I took all the packaging off. I can still smell it. It smells like almost like dead fish. And I'm kind of sensitive to really kind of this stinky scents. So I let them air out without the packaging in an area of the house that I don't frequent for it. They've been out a few weeks, and I just got a whiff of it. It was not amazing. But they'll air out a little bit more and they'll be totally fine. I bought, I bought some Tudor progress keepers. I had never seen this maker, but she does beautiful glass work. So artisan glass stitch markers and progress keepers. I bought some butts. Oops, little sheep butt is turning. Oops, there you go. Yep, 3 butts. I also bought an F-bomb, which is being used, I think, right now. And it was, it's all me. So these were fun. Everybody needs a little butt in their life. I just happen to need 3 butts. So I got those. Someone had posted a dyer I had not heard of, Goosey Fibers. I went on her site. I had ordered what I thought was a sweater's quantity worth of yarn, and I ended up mistakenly ordering 50-gram skeins. And so I contacted her as soon as I realized, and we were able to quickly correct my order, and I bought these. And it's just a 75-25 merino nylon basic sock yarn. I don't know which sweater I would like to make, but I was getting a little tired of the one skein deal that I'd been doing, so mixing it up and bought a sweater quantity. This is Hagrids Hut, and it's like gray base, terrible lighting, but there's like greens and blues kind of on that base. Yeah, so mostly greens and blues. There's some yellow in there too, I can see right off the... Yeah, I see a tiny bit of purple thrown in there too, but they're really pretty. I'm thinking, let's see, there are 463 yards. 1,213, it's like 1,300 yards of yarn. I should be able to easily crank out some sort of sweater with that, and I can always use a contrasting color. Like I said, I don't know what it's going to be, but I really liked them. But while I was correcting that that snafu, I saw this sock blank. Rebel. Princess Leia, cinnamon bun ears, well, hair, sock blank. Oh yeah. So amazingly awesome. So this glorious sock blank is going to be socks. I don't even want to use it. I just want to frame Princess Leia and her cinnamon buns. There were so many to choose from, but this was it. That was it. I would have been happy with that. No other yarn. That amazing. Two more things. I stopped in, I mentioned I went up to Oregon. My mom was living in Corvallis, and I was in the middle of selling our house. I actually went up to do the closing on our house. It sold within just, we put it on the market on a Monday, accepted an offer. We had 4 offers by Wednesday. Accepted an offer on Wednesday, the week that we put it on, and just a 2-week escrow. It was fast. So I ended up flying up there for closing, and stopped in Corvallis, even though I was making my way down to Roseburg. There is a shop in Corvallis called Stash Local, or Stash, and their website is Stash Local. And I love that shop. It is a gorgeous shop, and they have some fun things. My favorite thing about that shop, other than it being amazing, is that my favorite dyer works there. And so Despondent Dyes. So I walked in, and the owner of Despondent Dyes was working, and I had not met her, and so I ended up going in, and she was standing right there, and she ended up oh good gravy. I walked in and I said, I swear I am not stalking you, but I love your yarn, and I am friends with you on Instagram. And so we introduced ourselves, and she asked if I was up there. I said I don't live up here. She asked if I was up there for the holidays, because I flew up just a couple days after Thanksgiving. And I said, no, I'm here. I'm selling my mom's house, and I just wanted to drive by the house and check on it, make sure everything looked okay before signing. And in the course of talking, she said, can I just ask where this house is? And I told her the street, and she said, oh, I live next door. I was like, what? You live next door to my mom? And she said, yeah, I've lived there for a few years. I said, you were next door the whole time? And she said, yeah. And I said, I was up there like twice a month for like 7 or 8 months. I could have come and knit with you next door. And she's like, you could have hung out on my couch. We could have knit. And I was like, lovely. The day before we sign off on this house, I find out my favorite dyer that I stalk on Instagram was my mom's next door neighbor. So that was really funny. And I don't think either of us expected that to happen. So yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. But every time I stop at this shop, I buy a skein of her yarn because she works there and she's local and she dyes and they carry her yarn in the shop. And so I ended up buying this. It is worsted weight, and it is, she broke it down, one of her colorways. It is called I Gave All My Wedding Dresses Away. If you have not checked out Despondent Dyes, check her out on Instagram. Oh gosh, it's getting really dark. Sorry. I'll give you a little bit of light. She, not only are her yarns gorgeous, but the names that she and her daughter come up with are hilarious. So they're a lot of fun. Their tagline is, we set our colors with the acidity of our bitter tears. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a insight into their kind of kitschy names. They're so much fun. I have one. I'm looking at her website right now. I actually have this one. It's called Picking Sprinkles Out of My Cleavage. Another one is, I have that one. Drunk Dialing the Ex. Tossing his love letters into the sea. Party like you plan to be home by 9 o'clock. So she has a lot of really fun stuff. And I am looking forward to this. I am planning 2017, my knitting goals were to learn different socks and toes for socks. To hopefully learn to enjoy knitting socks. Goal achieved. I enjoy socks. I don't make resolutions ever. Like personal resolutions, I just don't, because I think it's like setting yourself up for total failure. At least me. But the last year I set this goal and I was really excited to realize that I could totally meet this goal. And I did. I learned a lot in knitting socks. So this year I am planning to learn brioche. That's my goal, is to learn brioche and knit a couple projects. I'm using that technique, 1 and 2 color. The other thing I never thought I would say, because I don't feel like I'm the most creative person, but I'm thinking maybe I'd like to design something. So I'm thinking this little set of mini skeins will be a design. I'm thinking a cowl of some sort. So that seems like a pretty easy place to start in terms of design. So there you go. I just threw out my 2018 goals. Now I have to do it. I bought one other thing. Rosalie from the Whiny Knitters podcast. She and her sister Margaret are the hosts of the Whiny Knitters. She just started dyeing yarn. Her sister makes project bags. Rosalie just started dyeing yarn. And so she opened her shop. It is the Yarn Matrix on Etsy. And so I saw that she had posted that she opened this shop. She's local to me. She lives in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I live about an hour from there. But that's my old stomping grounds, was Santa Cruz Mountains in Peninsula area, so I know where she's at. Anyway, she dyed this beautiful yarn, and it's like, I can't remember the name. She hadn't had her tags yet, but you can see it's got little pops of blue and like browns, like a goldish color. And I want to say it's toasted marshmallow. I can't remember. But it's a worsted weight and it's really squishy, bouncy. And so I'm thinking this will probably be either a cowl or a hat. Most likely a hat. I don't know. I might mix it with something now that I'm looking at the blues. There's like a little bit of like almost a burgundy, unless that's just a color that broke down. But it's a really pretty kind of like almost like a marigold orangish. So it's really nice, and I was happy to get this. She had really fast shipping, not just because she lives near me, but it was in the mail pretty quickly. I want to say a day or two. It did not take that long. So I was excited to get it, and more excited that she just opened her shop, and I wish her all the success. So yeah, that's it for acquisitions. Let's get to the drawing. So there were, I'm going to open the Ravelry group just so I can make sure that I do this correctly. Let's see. Okay. There were a total of 25 posts. The first post was me. And so I said I would lock the thread at midnight. I locked it a minute early. It was 11:50, well, not even a minute, 11:59 in like 30 seconds, so that it would close on the 10th perfectly. I have not drawn yet for the winner, so I will do that right now. Full transparency. Okay, so 25 posts. A minimum number is 2. Maximum 25. Okay, see? Oh, yeah, you can't see anything there. Nope, not going to see it, but trust me, it says 2 to 25. Generate. Number 18. No, you can't see anything. Whoa. Oh, 18. There. See, number 18. So let me go see who won that. Thank you, everybody, for entering it. That was really nice to see. A lot of participation. And Lykke. Ooh, I'm friends with her on Instagram. We're newer friends on Instagram. She lives up in Oregon. I'm not giving any more personal information because I was not given permission to do that. I don't want to overstep any bounds there. So the prompt was, please tell me something you were thankful for. And Lykke said, hello, I'm thankful for so many things I can't really put them all into words. I'm thankful for my husband, for my family, and for the life that I have that is so very different from anything I could have ever imagined for myself. So that was really sweet. There were a lot of, it was really fun for me to go through and read each one of these. I did read each one as I went in there daily to look to see who had entered, and it was really nice to see so many entries. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you for humoring me. So I will send this out to Lykke. Let me see if she actually. I'm sure she has her name in her profile. I am, let's see. Oh, no, it's under Wendelika. So please get in touch with me and give me your shipping address, and I will send this out as soon as possible. Now, it is the season of giving, and I had so much fun that I am going to keep going. I have a skein of yarn. You see that? It's really pretty. This is the next giveaway. This is a skein from Groovy Hues, and it is on her Single and Groovin Sparkle Edition. It is the Bourbon and Fuzzy Slippers Always Mix colorway, and it is a 95.5 merino stellina. It is a single, so there's it's always interesting to me to see how color takes on singles, and this is gorgeous. Suzanne is a really accomplished dyer. Like I said, I have a bit of her yarn in each one of the skeins that I've received. They're really pretty online, but until you get them into your hands, it's always hard to know exactly how pretty. So these are really pretty. I am going to open a thread in the Ravelry group. To enter the drawing, you need to, number one, be a member of the group. Number two, a subscriber on YouTube. And number three, there will be a prompt. I'm not sure what that prompt will be, but I will open the thread. And so go ahead and take a look in the Ravelry group, Dirty Knitting Hippie Podcast Ravelry group, and post away. And I will announce it on the next podcast. Let's see, this one I will close. Let's see what's today. We'll do a month. Today is the 12th, so I will close it on January 12th. Yeah. And I'm kind of feeling like I'm having so much fun with giveaways that I may just kind of keep this going for a little bit. I was looking through my stash, and I had some stuff that I thought, ooh, I love, but this would be fun to give to someone. So tune in for more. So this beautiful skein will be finding a new home with one of you guys. So yeah, okay. I do not have any, I don't have 5 things this time. Everybody's kind of been doing their own holiday thing lately in knitting. We are having a get-together this Saturday with a potluck, so I may snag somebody. There's actually somebody that I really, really want to sit down with, and she is going to be there this Saturday, so I'm going to snag her. She doesn't know. And ask her some questions. Yeah, so should be on the next episode. And if not her, somebody will be, because I actually have knitting Thursday too. Let's see, anything else going on here? I think I gave my update. Went up to Oregon. My whole family is now in Roseburg. My father, my stepmother, my 2 sisters, my mom, and her partner are in memory care there, and got to visit with them. They are, unfortunately, they both have dementia of varying degrees. So I've been there every month for the last 3 months, slipping a little bit, but it was good to see them. They're doing well. Sold the house, so that was exciting. That's something else off my list of stuff to take care of. But it was good to see the rest of my family and spend some time with my sisters. We visited Santa together, so we have our first picture with Santa with the three sisters, and so I'll throw that in there. And we got to, there's a really cool activity. It's called Festival of Lights, and it's down along the Umpqua River. And so you drive through, you turn your radio on a specific channel, and so you get Christmas music playing while you're driving through the lights, which was so much fun. In our car, it was my older sister and my younger niece. I have two nieces and a nephew from this sister. And so my 11-year-old niece and my sister and I drove through together, and that was fun. And then we went to Santa's village afterwards, and like I said, the sister sat on Santa's lap and had a picture. And let's see, what else did we do? We went out to dinner a couple times, so that was a lot of fun. Yeah, just been hanging out. We went to get our Christmas tree on Sunday. I'm starting to do a little bit of hiking. I was given the all clear to try some flat stuff, so I went on a mile out and a mile back, super flat. Hike the day after Thanksgiving. I was ready to go. My knee was not super ready to go. It actually did really well. But it was nice to kind of get a real world feel for the things that are working and the things that I need to work on still. And so saw my PT just a few days after the holiday, and I could kind of debrief with him and talk about what went well, what didn't go well. And so that was fun. We went and got the tree, which we cut down. Last year when we went to the same farm, I was just about to be put on the transplant list, and so I was really struggling with kind of walking at that point. And so we pretty much parked the car by the side of one of the cut zones or whatever they call them. And I pointed to a tree and said, that one looks good. This year, however, I got out and we were there for like 3.5 hours. We could not agree on a tree. We all had very different ideas, and this was a very a difficult process. We were all kind of trying to persuade each other why our type of tree was the best. So I was doing a lot of walking on uneven ground, and I did quite well. Again, there are some areas that we're going to have to work with the PT on, and a couple concerns that we're kind of addressing. Ultimately, at the end of that time looking for the tree, when we didn't find one, I pulled up to another cut zone, and it was just a straight hike down, and I can't do that. I'm kind of slightly hilly, very slightly hilly, and I can't go down. I can go up just fine, but down I can't. So I pulled off to the side of the road, kicked everyone out of my car, and said, go choose. And they came back about 40 minutes later with a tree, and it's a beautiful tree. We haven't put it up yet because we got home so late, and we've just been on the go. So preparing the area to put the tree up. It's on my back patio. I'm in a stand with water, so we'll probably put it up tomorrow when everybody's home. None of the kids are home right now. See, this week was finals week for my older kiddo. So he's had a couple finals and preparing to end the semester and enter his final semester of high school. He sent all his college applications out. All in all, he applied to 9 schools. I feel like a money Pez dispenser with all the application fees. One thing that I didn't have to do when I applied was pay to send my SAT and ACT scores. That's something new. So they get you coming and going. So yeah, I'm feeling a little verklempt with the amount coming out. Yeah, so that's done. We're just waiting on, I think, he might have one more school that he's planning to apply to, somewhere in Massachusetts. He applied to a couple out-of-state schools, and I think that one, yeah, Massachusetts, they close in February, so I don't know that he's applied there yet. He's working on his essay, I think. We had one surprise school that he applied to in New Jersey, of all places. He was offered a scholarship, so that may happen. I don't know. Yeah, that, oh God, I'm going to struggle with this. He's an amazing kid, so we're just waiting to see who accepts him, and where he'll end up. I'm rallying strongly for local, but he's not having it. Almost all the schools are in California. A majority are like a few hours and far away. California is a very long state, so he applied to several Southern California schools. Not much north. I think the only local schools, well, he applied to a fair amount of local. But his preference is actually San Diego. So UC San Diego or UCLA. Both far, but they're a quick flight, so I can hop down there and say, hey, let's have lunch. Let me come knit with you. We'll hang out in the student union. His biggest nightmare. So, yeah, we took care of that. Yeah, that's it. Not much else going on around here. Just waiting for the end of the year and kicking off 2018. So, that's it. I don't have anything else to tell you guys. I think I've gone on long enough. So go ahead and enter that giveaway on Ravelry. If you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. You can find me on Instagram as Dirty Knitting Hippie. You can find me on Ravelry as Tyler's Mom Chris. You can find the group on Ravelry as Dirty Knitting Hippie Podcast. I started a What Are You Working On thread. Feel free to post. I'd love to see your projects. Let's see. I have an Ask Me Anything thread. So if you would, if you want to know anything about me, go ahead and ask. Let's see. You can follow me on Instagram, follow me on Ravelry. That's it. I think I got it all. Thank you for spending some time with me. I will see you next time. I will go ahead and record not long after I close that thread for the next drawing. And then we'll announce the next one. I'll just keep this rolling. So I will see you next time. Thank you. Take care. Bye.